I'm learning, you're learning, so let's learn together. I'll do all the footwork and heavy lifting to find the guests and subjects that will help broaden our understanding of the Civil War. All I ask from you is your support. Please go to patreon.com/addressinggettysburg and learn with me. That's patreon.com/addressinggettysburg. And I thank you in advance.
From the Gettysburg Museum of History Studios, you're listening to Addressing Gettysburg.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Addressing Gettysburg. And today we're talking about one of my favorite topics, combined with one of my favorite places that I have yet to visit, which doesn't make any sense, but I've seen enough pictures, I've seen enough videos, and I know that the things I saw in those pictures and videos combined with the subject matter makes me want to go and visit it. I just never cut out the time to do it, but I will in 2025. That is my goal. We're talking about Civil War medicine with Dana Shoaf and Melissa Winn from the National Museum of Civil War Medicine. Welcome, guys.
Hey, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome back, I should say. You've been on our live show, and I'm surprised that you didn't cancel this.
Yeah. No.
Well, we talked about it on the way up.
You talked about canceling?
So should we just go to Antietam?
That's what I would have done. It's a beautiful day.
It's a beautiful day. I'm like, should we just?
Yeah.
But we said, no, we're going to come.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Because I've been wanting to do this for a while. And I saw you recently did a Pat McGuire show.
Yes.
Yes.
They came down to you guys.
Yeah, they did.
That was pretty
cool. Down
cool.
with a little setup, and we went in our little research library and did one there. Yeah.
Did you have fun with them?
Yeah.
They're fun.
Yeah, they're fun guys.
I have a lot of fun with them. When I go on their show, we just goof around. We don't even talk about history. We were kind of
goofing around.
We had to goof around.
It's hard not to goof around with them.
Yeah.
So before we get into all the blood and guts and everything like that, why don't we talk about the museum itself? Give us a little bit of a history of the museum.
Okay. Well, currently the museum is at 48 East Patrick Street in Frederick, and it's in a building called the Cardi Building, a portion of which stood during the Civil War. The rear portion is older than the front, but it all sort of came together in the late 90s when a collector from Illinois, a dentist named Gordon Domen, who had a collection of medical items, wanted to display them, and he wanted to start a museum somewhere out Gettysburg-ish, if you will, Antietam-ish, because he was really interested in Jonathan Letterman, which we'll talk about, medical director of the Army of the Potomac. And so, long story short, they arrived at Frederick, and the town was very gracious, and they got this. We leased the building from the city, for a very reasonable amount of money, because it brings in tourism dollars. And what are we? The leading non-ticketed tourism revenue producer in Frederick County, which is
it's very specific.
Yes.
Very specific, but we're a leader in some way.
Okay.
So anyway, so the museum is currently there. It opened at 48 East Patrick Street in 2000. Before that, it was there, and then they
did some renovation,
and they moved it out to a strip mall somewhere, and then moved it back when the renovations were done.
Okay.
Yeah.
When was that?
They moved it back when it opened in 2000.
Right. It opened again.
Oh, so okay, gotcha. So it's been there since 2000.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. For some reason, it came on my radar when I started doing this back in 2018. So I didn't know it was there that long, because I had lived here for 5 years doing the bike tour company, and of all it never occurred to me. But I also wasn't interested in Civil War medicine at that point. I just was, again, like we were talking before the show, I had this arrogant modern view of the barbaric ways of Civil War medicine that are just so wrong in some ways, but in another way. I mean, but we'll get into that in a little bit. So, okay, so you've got that now. You're a nonprofit too, right? And people can become members.
Yes.
Okay, so what are they? How do they do that?
Well, Melissa.
Well, you can sign up for a membership on our website, civilwarmed.org. There's a member page, and we have several different levels of membership, but the regular membership is $35, and that includes free admission to our main museum, which is the one in Frederick, but we also administer 2 other sites. The Clara Barton Missing Soldiers Office Museum in Washington, D.C., and the Pry House Field Hospital Museum on the Antietam National Battlefield. It includes admission to those. We also have reciprocity with the Seminary Ridge Museum. So if you're a member of our museum, you can get in free there as well.
Very nice. So wait, is that $35 a month or a year?
A year.
You're kidding me.
No,
you get all of that
it's a
stuff for
great deal.
$35 a year.
Well, you also get
Yeah, we also have member magazine that comes out twice a year, The Surgeon's Call.
Can I say?
Yeah, absolutely. And we have a member newsletter as well. We also have several member events scheduled during the year that are members-only events, including sometimes we do tours, other times we have events at the museum that might have like a behind-the-scenes look at some of our artifacts up close.
right.
We have speaker series that's free admission to those as well.
Now, this is interesting. Sex for sale, the world's oldest profession during the Civil War. So this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like the real life stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We
It's
never really
actually
hear about
incredible
this.
how much the medical aspect of the war touches so many different aspects of the
Sure,
war.
especially
It's
this one.
in everyday life of soldier
You
life.
said you weren't that into the. I mean, I started at the museum. I'm director of interpretation, and I started there in November of 23. I walked in there. I didn't know anything about. I just never paid attention to it. I'm like, good grief, the stuff that was going on.
Was it that, what was it that didn't interest you about medicine before?
I don't know if it didn't interest me or I was just so focused on
The
infantry,
battlefield.
cavalry,
Yeah.
artillery, fighting,
Which that seems to
campaigns,
that seems to be where I am too, is my whole life, all I cared about was the people who did the shooting.
Right.
Right. But then, after a while, not only does that kind of get old, but for me, I hit 40 and I started realizing I was mortal, and these guys were half my age for the most part. And they didn't get to be, a lot of them didn't get to be my age.
Yeah.
And so it was very sobering to me. And I was like, I'm treating this horrible thing as people treat football. Or,
Right.
I wasn't looking at it as real mortal combat.
Right.
It was bars on a map or actors on a
Right.
movie.
Right.
And so that I started feeling really ashamed of that. And then I became more interested as I was exposed to more people down here doing the show and everything like that. People come to you with ideas and you go, well, yeah, sure. That sounds interesting. And then I started to become interested in things like the civilians
Yeah.
and the things that the women did
Yeah.
and the doctors and the nurses and the hospitals. And then, well, what were the procedures? Like, how would they do these things? How would they handle these things? I remember one time, you might know who this is. I forget his first name. I forget all of his names. But anyway, there was this guy who was really big into reenacting. I'll tell you how big into reenacting he was. Through a mutual friend, I got to go to be an extra in John Adams, right?
Oh.
And on the way down, we stopped at his house in Maryland and went to get outfitted. And we go into his basement, and it is rows of uniforms and accoutrements from every war we've been in since the Revolution.
Yeah.
Okay. And not just one representative uniform. It was whatever regiment you were in for the most part. He had a variety of uniforms, right? So he fitted us out with whatever the hell the production company told us they needed.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we went down and did the whole thing. But his thing was he did a living history as a Civil War urologist, which I didn't know they had urologists, but that's what he called it.
Okay.
And he showed me all the instruments they had. Now, I would imagine that really he was just using a modern shorthand by saying urologist.
Right.
Yeah.
He was
I
a
think
Civil War physician, but
Yeah.
for whatever reason, he was very focused on the junk.
Right. Yeah.
So he showed me the instruments that they would use. These big, long what do you call them? Like metal probes,
Yeah.
basically,
Yes.
right? And it was horrifying.
Yeah.
Some of these things looked enormous. I'm like, how are you getting that anywhere?
Yeah.
But that's what they used, and that I remember that, and that was 2006, I think, or 7.
Okay.
That struck me as I didn't even think they would think of anything like that.
Right.
You know, like that. So that was interesting to me
Right.
that there were people who were they were trying to treat all parts of the body
Right.
as best that they could.
Well, when the war breaks out, and it's it's sort of at a tipping point for medicine, because there are medical schools, and in which doctors are scientifically trained, and there's medical texts, but there's also a lot of medicinal, loosely described techniques like cupping, to raise a blister to
Right.
evacuate bad liquids from your body.
Right.
And what the Civil War does medically is
leeches.
because both in America, both Union and Confederate armies go with the scientific method that really pushes that forward. And not that those other folky kind of remedies go away, but they begin to diminish. And the other thing, about the medical history is, in a sort of macro look at it, by studying the medical history of the conflict, you see how consuming this conflict was for both sides. Maybe more than you can even looking at the military. When you look at how many hospitals had to be built, how many people had to staff those hospitals, the medicine that had to be produced, right? The women getting involved in nursing. I mean, it is just this vortex behind the scenes a little bit, if you study it, like we had.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy God, the hospitals that created the thousands and thousands of people.
Right.
Needed. Yeah, because with an army, it still needs a lot of support personnel.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
But
Yeah.
all the people that the support personnel are supporting are able-bodied.
Right.
Right? In the hospitals, they're not.
No.
And so you have hundreds, maybe thousands, I don't know, people in a general hospital, let's say, or something like that. Well, you're going to need hundreds of staff members to do
Right.
that at round the clock. So
Yeah.
you need a day shift and a night shift. And like, it's the undertaking for that. I never really thought of it that way until you just said that it almost had to be more gargantuan than the personnel for an army.
John Billings, Hardtack and Coffee, the unwritten story of soldier life. He's a veteran, right? And he has a chapter on the medical history from the Union perspective. But which actually, if you have that book and you read that chapter, that's a really good overview thumbnail of just about everything.
Like good primer.
Yeah, really good. He says that the formation of the United States Medical Department, paraphrasing here, but was one of the greatest miracles of the conflict, because there was nothing there when it began.
Right.
There was nothing there. They had one hospital in the United States Army, had 40 beds. It was in Kansas.
Really?
Yeah.
That's astounding, though. Like, we had nothing. That's hard to believe.
Yeah, it was all very small scale. It was a small army.
Of course, that makes sense
It is hard to
there.
believe, but also the idea of a hospital at that time was so vastly different than what
Right.
we think of it
Oh,
now.
sure.
It wasn't a place to go to get better, really.
Right.
I mean, you were tended to medically in your home, and that was what people chose. Doctors would come to your home.
Right.
The hospital was not a place. Now we think of it as a life-saving place, but it was not considered that at the time.
So it was what place that you would go to die or hopefully recover? Is that
they
kind of
were-
what it was?
It was usually, if you went there, it was sometimes, it's odd. It's like if you're really poor,
Yeah.
you'd end up there to basically die. If
So it's like a managed-
if you were a middle class family, you had a doctor come to your house
Right.
and
Can't do
treat
that
you
anymore.
there.
Why don't they do that anymore? Is it we have too many people now?
Too many people, I guess. And, when you centralize something and we all go to the doctor instead of the doctor trying to run around. And, imagine if you're a doctor living here in Gettysburg and you have patients all the way down and,
that's
you know what I mean?
Yeah, you
From
can't.
Biglerville to, I don't know, some little town
Yeah.
down to the border, probably.
They
Down to
do
the
have
border,
people doing that now, though, especially with the frustration with insurance. You know, they're concierge doctors where you, of course, you have to be very wealthy to afford that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, my friend's fiance is actually she's an RN. I'm sorry, a nurse practitioner now.
Yeah.
physician's assistant. And she wants to open her own practice and do something like that, because she thinks the system is so screwed now.
Yeah, I think.
Well, yes.
People need care.
The insurance system has made you
I
an
can't,
administrator more than a doctor.
Exactly.
We can't begin to discuss the modern medical stuff. But
The rest of this preview is available over at patreon.com/addressinggettysburg.